You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
This is a Hip and Humble podcast. This is a working title. I'm Aram.
He's hip and I'm humble.
That's right. And I'm Aram, and this is Kimberly Rice, my mother.
Hello.
Yeah, and we started an LLC together with my Nana and her mom. We're called Hip and Humble, and we sell antiques.
Angie.
And Angie.
Well, my mother and I started it, and then you and Angie came later.
This is true.
So, but we still have changing seasons.
Yeah, we do still have changing seasons. So we have two different shops. One's changing seasons and the other is Hip and Humble.
Yep.
Yeah. So some of the things that we wanted to just start off talking about. Don't eat the mic. I don't think that that'll be good. We've noticed, or at least Mom's noticed, because she started it, that some of the advice she's gotten was that basically things sell in 50 and 100-year ranges, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So if they, things that were popular 50 years ago or 100 years ago, generally will be popular again 50 years, now.
Mm-hmm.
So
We're going to have to get you a mic stand.
we're going to have to get me a mic stand.
Yeah, because you like to talk with your hands, so it moves the mic.
I like to talk with my hands.
Moves the mic around the whole time.
Apparently I'm irritating my son.
You're not irritating me.
Goal achieved.
Oh, I think. Anyways, I was doing some quick maths, and I figured out that 50 years ago, it was the 70s. And
Wow, is that because I just had my 50th birthday? Aram does math slow, folks.
I'm not a fan of math. Negative numbers don't exist.
You know what? Let's just not go there.
They don't. They don't.
Bless your heart. It's a good thing you're pretty.
Well, see, the thing is any range of numbers, whether you put a minus in front of it or not, it's still a positive of something.
Just stop.
Gosh.
Just stop.
All right. So anyways, thanks to my very quick math.
Yeah, and my birthday cake with a big 5-0 on it.
Well, yeah, that too. 50 years ago was the 70s. And I was reading, and some of the articles say that the 70s were the era that style forgot, just because there were a lot of clashing colors, shall I say. Also, shag carpet. Shag carpet was a big thing. We had there was shag carpet in Nana's house until...
Oh, we didn't have just shag carpet. We had red and pink shag carpet. Not like a little red, like blood red movie star carpet.
Oh yeah, I know. I remember rolling around. That was the craziest thing about going to Nana's house too, was to go and play in the shag carpet, because if you play with Legos, it'll eat Legos.
This is true.
It's almost alive in a way, almost like its own little entity.
Yeah. Well, there's still one closet in Nana's house that still has the red carpet.
Is it that one up in the sewing room?
Coat closet. Down by the front door.
Oh, yeah. Yep. But, so I was reading, and they said that the style that came from a kind of a rejection of consumerism, because the 70s was, right after the 60s.
Really? Was it right after the 60s? Look at Aram mathing. Woohoo!
Yeah. This is me.
And just for your information, today would have been my grandfather's 110th birthday.
Wow, 110 years. Mm-hmm. That's a long time. Yeah. But the style that I was talking about, the style that I found in the article, they said it was called eco tripping. Was the style?
Eco tripping?
Yeah. Have you heard of that?
Nope.
Well, let's see. I guess during the era you wouldn't really call it a style. But
yeah, I was an infant.
exactly, you were a
My
baby.
style was called whatever my mom put me in. That was my style.
Yeah. Well, when did Nana upgrade her tools and I guess household things, shall we say?
As far as style,
Yeah.
like clothing,
Well, no, I'm talking about like there were some different basically trinkets and like household items, like the clock radios with the flip numbers, or the different types of lamps, the Cuisinart food processor. That was
I have a Cuisinart food processor.
yeah. Well, I've heard I was told, or I've read that
You were told.
I was told by
somebody your age.
I was
that
told
has no
by
clue.
Google. I was told by Google.
By Google.
I was told by Google that apparently the Cuisinart food processor was a staple in every household in the 70s.
Honestly, I don't remember ever having one. I mean, as far as kitchen stuff goes, what I remember, and as you get older, you forget things because it's not really that important.
Yeah.
But I don't remember having a Cuisinart, because a Cuisinart basically is just to chop up vegetables, and we had knives, so we used them.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
I do remember using the ice trays, metal ice trays.
Metal. I haven't seen a metal ice tray.
Yeah. Well, they're metal ice trays, and it's like you put water in it, obviously, put it in the freezer, freeze it, comes out, and there's a little handle right in the middle, and you pull that handle up, and it cracks all the ice out of there, and then you have ice.
Wait a second. So you're saying you freeze water and it makes ice?
You're not so pretty anymore.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So, but that was something you don't really ever see anymore. So I
No, definitely not.
remember our refrigerator was an older refrigerator, and it always kind of looked like a VW Bug. It was kind of like smooth around, rounded corners and stuff like that. And yeah, they hated that refrigerator because it didn't work very well. So, I think everybody was very excited when we upgraded to a different refrigerator. So, but considering my dad grew up with an ice box, literally.
Yeah, what? So, what is? I've obviously never used an ice box other than, coolers. I guess would be an equivalent that I've ever used. But what do you fill it up with ice every day? How do they work?
Pretty much. Well, my grandparents had one and had it for years. They built a house because that was built a brick house, which was a big thing in Oklahoma because we have lots of bricks. She had a kitchen, state-of-the-art kitchen for the time, and had her ice box, and out in the garage was her wood stove, and that's where she cooked.
Oh, wow.
So they did use a refrigerator some, but yeah, the ice box is basically a wood box, and it has kind of this insulation foam like in a cooler, and you would put a chunk of ice in there, and it would keep your stuff cold.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you would have an ice man. You would go buy ice.
That's it. I guess I had never thought of that really as being because
they had an ice shop there in Oklahoma City, down off MacArthur, which means nothing to anybody, but that's where you went and bought it. It was Penguin Ice, and so you could go in still and get blocks of ice.
Oh, okay. So you would get, instead of buying like bags of ice, you would buy an actual like block of ice.
And they transitioned from blocks of ice eventually to bags of ice that you'd put in your coolers.
I wonder why.
Going to the
I guess
just people got refrigerators.
Yeah.
So don't really need the ice if you got refrigerator.
When did they transition to a refrigerator?
Who, my grandparents? I really don't know. Sometime in the 70s. Well, I think I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I remember the house before they moved into the brick house, but I honestly don't remember too much about being in the house and all that, because there's 12 kids.
Yeah, I know that.
So there's, like 30 grandkids, so you can't have that many people in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom, little tiny house. So everybody's outside.
Oh, right.
So,
yeah.
You always had ice, coolers and all that around. Cause,
I remember. I mean, just.
Oh, you weren't even alive.
No, I'm talking about some of Papa's stories. I remember him saying that basically every year they would raise a sow, and then they'd hire a gentleman to come in from town and slaughter it.
Nope, Grandma did that.
Oh, he said they hired somebody to come in and slaughter it.
Well, eventually they did, but now my grandmother would do it. So, and I remember asking, I said, well, why didn't Granddaddy do it? And he said, yeah, he didn't like that stuff, all the guts and everything. Grandma goes in and just does it and done.
Yeah, well.
So,
yeah,
that's how most people were. I mean, you had a pig and you had a cow and raised them, slaughtered them, you ate them.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't any grocery stores.
Yeah.
And Grandma, she wouldn't go to the grocery store even when I was a kid. My aunts might come and get stuff for her from the grocery store as she got older and she couldn't get out and garden and can and do everything like she used to do. So then they would go to the grocery store for her. So for some reason, if she didn't have to leave her house, she didn't leave her house.
Well, no.
And have to leave her house, you'd have to have like an arm cut off or something.
Yeah, I can understand that. I could see Kale being that way. I have two younger brothers, Kale and Tab, and Kale is 25 now.
Almost.
Oh, that's right. Couple months, he's going to be 25, and he is what I would call a quintessential homebody.
Yeah.
He likes sitting inside, which is fine.
Oh, he likes being outside, but he likes being outside with you guys. Hiking and fishing and doing whatever.
Yeah. He likes to have
a reason.
Yeah, he likes to have a purpose of being outside. He won't just go out to be out.
Well, and you guys kind of do the same thing. I mean, all three of the boys are all homebodies in their own way.
Yeah, that's true. I guess for me, I like to go out more. I like to do more stuff, and for me, home is more, I guess, relaxing. It's like my decompression.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, my telephone over here that I got at auction the other day caught my eye.
Oh yeah, we are in a room filled with quite a few different things that our mom has picked up from different auctions. And where'd you get that one? You said?
I got it at auction.
Okay. My dad was showing me how to work the rotors whenever he first got it, and he was like, he used to hate people with longer, with so many numbers in different areas.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, and used to, when I was a kid, I think they finally had transitioned into all numbers for your phone number, because used to you'd have, like 35 EG21 or something. There were letters in your phone number and stuff, but eventually, they transferred into all numbers. But the best thing about phones in the 70s, not all phones, but the phones my grandma and granddaddy had were party lines.
Yeah, I've been talking to a couple of different people about that.
Party lines were awesome. And see, the trick is, and these phones aren't like your phone. I mean, you can't be silent on them, but they got a little button on it. So you had to pick up the ringer and then get that button just right so that the other people on the line didn't hear it click on. And then you could listen to what they were talking about.
Well, yeah.
But if they caught you, then they'd start yelling at you.
Hey, someone using this phone.
Who's on that? But yeah, the rotary phone sucks because it just takes a while to call. On the other hand, you got to be real motivated to call that person. So
yeah, I guess that makes sense.
You just don't make willy-nilly phone calls.
Yeah.
Ever. I mean, ever. Because even when you had the fancy push-button phones, you called local and that was it. And long-distance call, that was an extra charge.
Yeah. Well, how much was a phone bill back then? I guess on average.
I have no idea. I was a kid.
Fair enough.
I was a kid, and I didn't make any long-distance phone calls.
Yeah. I remember whenever I had first gotten my cell phone that we had free minutes after 9 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But before then, we had however many minutes were in the plan.
Well, but if you think about it, though, it's like when I got married, cell phones still were not a thing. No. And I don't even know if I even knew any. Well, I don't think there were anybody that had them.
I mean, there were, but it was
they were car phones.
They had those briefcase ones too.
Yeah, and it was like a big old briefcase. So basically, nobody had it.
Or they did have those And they did have the handheld ones, but they were basically the size of my thigh.
Yeah, well, that's not handheld. That's a briefcase.
Yeah,
That's, But anyway, communication just, was not what it is today. So,
Of course not.
Like when I was first married, and like when you were little, my mother just, we missed each other. So she eventually got a 1-800 number. So that way I could call her anytime I wanted to, and it wouldn't cost me money.
How
Because
do you think...
I couldn't afford to call her all the time. So, but I think we had more meaningful conversations because we knew we had to get it all out there real quick and then hang up.
Yeah. How do you think that the change in technology as far as communication technology has, I guess, changed the relationship between you and Nana, or, well, any of us, really?
I don't think you have to talk as much. You can just text. So
do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I don't know. I think that'd be a toss-up. I mean, it's kind of nice just because I just need to tell you one thing, so I can just text you one thing. But on the other hand, you don't really talk, so you don't have any, I don't know, there's no background. You don't know what it is I'm texting you for,
For me,
kind of for that. But
for me, I just think that there's not really any tone. You know what I mean?
There's no tone. There's no tone to it. There's no inflection. There's nothing. And then you don't observe the niceties.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think that it's impersonal, and you're like you said, it's nice if you're just trying to say one little thing and get it out of the way, but it takes away the human aspect of it.
It does, and I think a lot of people now, especially kids your age, they really just don't know how to be polite.
Well, they don't know how to talk to each other, I think. I've noticed that a lot for people in my generation, especially Tavin's generation. They just don't know how to, talk with each other in public. I was telling you, I went down to visit Tavin a couple weekends ago, and we were playing soccer out in front of his dorm. And we hit the soccer ball, or Tavin hit the soccer ball beside me, and it actually hit the door of some other kid. And the other kid came out, like, what? And we started talking to him and made friends, but you could tell, like, he just didn't understand the situation as far as...
Well, I mean, a lot of that is communication skills, and kids are not learning communication skills. And I think because of technology. I mean, technology and computers and all that were started so that businesses could have better access to information and talk within, among themselves within a business situation. And I think for businesses, it is absolutely great. That being said, they never work. So, every time you turn around, computers down. And so once their computer's down, they cannot do anything.
Well, I would say for my job specifically, I mean, I'm on my computer the entire time I'm at work. Yeah. I mean, it's on 8-9 hours every day.
Yeah, but even with a job that is not computer oriented, if they don't have that computer on there to do tax, to add anything up, to just, they cannot do it.
Forget about doing basic addition, subtraction, or, God forbid, multiplication or division.
Well, I remember I counted back. I was doing the concession stand there at Aram's school, and counted back change to some kid, and he thought that was the most interesting thing. He was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anyone do this," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, pick up a math book."
Well, I think a lot of it too is the way that they're trying to teach math now. The way that I've seen from my wife, she's a teacher, and I've had the privilege of talking to a couple different teachers. I shared my theory on negative numbers with one of the math teachers at school. We didn't share; she didn't agree with me, but
no one agrees with you. Not one person out there agrees with you.
Yeah, well,
unless they're just really, really ignorant.
Oh, okay. Well, that's hurtful. That's a little hurtful.
It's not hurtful. You're still pretty.
Oh, my gosh. But anyways, I've been able to talk to them about the different ways that they're teaching math, and it's they're trying to do these grandiose conceptions of it rather than like we did the times tables, or we would do the timed math test where we do all the multiplications of 7, and then we would also, we would memorize, 2 through 10 of,
12.
What is it? What are those tables called?
Math tables.
Math tables, yeah, where you do
Well,
6, 12,
basically
18.
the way you were taught, that I taught you, is you learn how to count. So
Right.
you counted by 2s, 4s, 6, all the way up, through 12.
Right.
And then you went from, well, what is 4 10s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, went from there.
Yeah, and I will say, even now, when I do math in my head, how I reach, I'll do large sums or large subtractions, and I'll use even numbers, or I'll use those times tables those number tables in my head, and then I'll add or subtract based on the second number in the string.
Is math is math. 1
Yeah.
plus 1 equals 2. It doesn't matter what kind of stripe you paint on it.
Right.
It's still 1 plus 1 equals 2. And
To a
I'm
certain
sure
point.
that somebody along the way got a bug up their rear end and said, we do not want to memorize math facts, so let's make up a whole new thing where we don't have to memorize math facts.
Yeah.
We can count beans.
Well, I read this book on education recently, where they were talking about the reason they're getting away from memorization, because memorization in a way is just indoctrination. And for traditional schooling, if you're just memorizing something and regurgitating it, you're not actually learning anything. You're just learning that if you memorize something well, then you get rewarded.
Well, that may be one thing, but if you're memorizing something and you keep regurgitating it, which you have to do for like 12 years,
Yeah.
you do learn it.
No, I'm not.
Repetition.
I don't disagree with you, but I think that there should be some kind of medium, because
Well,
in real life.
In all honesty, if you think back whenever you did Bible quiz and all the memorization you had to do,
Yeah,
has that helped you?
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So
I'm not.
memorizing is
No, I'm not
okay.
saying. What I'm saying is that memorization is very useful, and I think that it's very helpful, and I think that it should be pushed in certain things, but specifically math, and I think grammar, like memorizing those helping verbs and things like that. That has helped me so
Well,
much in my
knowing-
writing and speaking,
yeah, knowing
vocabulary, of course.
Well, and I will say my sister is a professor, and that's one of her biggest pet peeves is these kids come to their freshman year of college and they can't write a sentence.
Well, yeah,
No idea.
and the part of that too is because they don't fail them.
Well, that's true. They don't.
Yeah,
You don't fail.
yeah. If you're in the 7th grade and even if you don't pass your SOLs, you still get to go to the 8th grade.
See,
If you get
not
it,
everybody has a SOL. There are a few states out there that actually still think for themselves.
yeah, and I think that we're one of the only countries one of the only developed countries that still has standardized tests.
Well, no, that's not true. I mean, in England, they have standardized tests, and that standardized test basically decides what you're doing and if you go to college or not.
Well, that's similar to the one that they have in Mexico.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what a lot of countries do. The difference between those other countries and our country is they'll say, okay, you take this test, and this test says if you can go to college and which field of study that you can study.
Right.
And we go, hey, you know what? We've trained you. We've given you all this backbone. We've given you all the basics. We've given you everything. Tried to expose you to as many different professions and cultural events and whatever it is that we could that would benefit your academic and development and everything else. What do you want to do? So you've got the choice and go, okay, yeah, I want to go to college and I want to explore this. I want to be a computer programmer, or I want to be a teacher, or whatever. Or you go, you know what, maybe college isn't for me. I think I'd rather do something else, whatever else.
Yeah. I think especially now, a lot of people are realizing that maybe college isn't the best option for everyone.
Well, and that's true. And I think, especially my generation, I mean, you had to go to college.
Absolutely.
And that was that. And frankly, my kids need to go, and I want them to have a degree. And college isn't really just for education. I mean, you get trained in whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
But
it's more for networking.
No, it's not even that. It's endurance.
Oh, yeah, I see your points. I see your point.
It's, hey, if I got a kid who's a job applicant and I have this kid A has a degree and, had decent grades and whatever, and here's kid B who has not been to college, has crappy high school grades, has not been able to hold a job, hasn't been able to show me anything, I'm probably going to go with kid A because at least I know that kid stuck it out.
Yeah. I mean, I do think
there's 100 different qualifications, but that's just one of the things for college is it's did you stick it out? Did you finish what you started?
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's what a degree is. It's just saying that you were able to go.
College is the first time that you have a choice. So, like high school, you have to finish at the end. I mean, you could drop out, but that's, basically you have to finish high school. But college, you got the choice. Do I want to stay? Do I not? Do I want to get halfway through, then crap out? Do I, that's your choice.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. But I do think, like I was saying, especially for my generation, I don't think that college is always the best option.
No, I think nowadays it really isn't. And I think...
and another thing too, the trades right now are really suffering.
Well, and that's the thing is there are so many college-educated people out there that the trades are suffering. And plumbers make a heck of a lot of money.
So do electricians.
So do a whole lot of people. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely.
So the only thing that I think is hard with a trade job is the physical work.
Yeah. Well, your body will give out after a while.
Your body will give out after a while.
I mean, at 60, if you're 65 and you're still putting up drywall or, putting in the electricity for a subdivision.
Or crawling under a house.
To do plumbing.
It's just really hard to do that at that age.
It is.
But I think with a lot of people that have been in the trade profession, that, of course, you do all the physical labor, you learn it in and out, upside, downside, or whatever. And then when you get to the point your body's kind of given out, by that point, you either own a company or you're pretty high up in the company that you work in, so you don't have to do as much physical labor. You can be training those under you. And, they can have an apprentice come up and stuff. And that, I think, would work beautifully. And has. I mean, that's the way a lot of things are done. But, yeah, there's a lot of trade out there that people need to do. And back to schools, honest to God, I think you should have a home ec class.
Oh,
I think you should have a home ec class.
Absolutely.
Honest to God, I think you should take a carpentry class, basic car maintenance, basic life skills.
The things that are actually, exactly, basic life skills, the things that are actually going to help you when you get into the real world. What I was saying earlier, the point I was going to make was that the medium between memorization and problem-solving skills, because I mean, in real life, whenever you're approaching something, any path that you're going to choose in life, you need to be able to solve a problem.
Yeah.
And that has an element of creativity and critical thinking in it.
Oh, sure.
But the memorization, the backbone of the memorization helps that. However, I think that that idea of being able to think on your feet
that's two totally different things. I mean, you're I'm using and have used with you guys memorization to give you the tools so you can think on your feet.
Right, but that's what I'm saying.
I
think
saying
that
is a replacement for that.
No, I'm saying that there should be a medium between those.
It's a stepping stone. I think everybody should learn how to memorize, but it's still a stepping stone.
Right.
You don't stop there. You step on it and keep going.
Yeah.
And that's a skill that you use on each little path on the way up.
Yeah. I've heard the argument that memorization is completely useless now because of the access to information that we have.
Well,
I mean, if you think about it, every kid past the age of 12.
And I do. I see that, and I do see that.
Yeah.
I see that. But I also think because of the internet and all that kind of stuff, you've lost a lot of skills, a lot of critical thinking skills.
I completely agree. Yeah.
I mean, how many kids today can read a map? How many kids?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. How many kids can go to the library and physically find a book?
Yeah.
I mean.
So, kind of back to what we were originally talking about with the difference in culture in the 70s. How was the library back then versus now?
A library? Okay, I love the library.
Okay.
Yeah, the library and I were very close friends. I actually won an award for the most books read during a summer break.
I believe that.
So, yes, I did. I was very happy. I've read 77 books that summer.
Wow.
I remember, made a big thing, and I got ice cream and
How old
a
were
little
you?
button. I don't know, maybe 10.
What kind of books were you reading?
Whatever ones they had. But they had, and libraries nowadays still have like reading time and reading hours for kids and stuff like that. Of course, everything is regulated and monitored, which it was there then too. But I think we were a little freer, and we were actually able to have a lot more fun than kids can now.
Yeah,
I really do.
Well, I mean, I think that I think it's a different level, right? Because I mean, kids back in the 70s, kids were outside all the time a lot more.
Sure.
And kids here, nowadays they have more access to information and they have more access to each other. Well, you have a lot of access to
information, but
I mean, with social media and things like that, they have access to each other 24/7.
Sure. Well, yeah. So, I mean, the heart never gets a chance to grow fonder because it's always right there.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, you've got a lot of access to information, access to people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
And no, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
So
I think
we spent a lot more time thinking, actually thinking, and living in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a key distinction.
I don't think people, or not people, but I don't think a lot of people live in the moment.
Yeah, I don't think kids especially are really prepared to live in the moment as much because they're all, they have this electronic leash. That's what I like to call my cell phone. They have this electronic leash that...
and just for the record, when my electronic leash is not in my hand, my son gets upset when I don't text him back
Why
immediately.
would you have a phone if you're not going to use the phone?
I use the phone, but I put it down and I go, take a shower or eat.
When I shower and eat, I don't have my phone in my hand, Mom.
But I bet it's 3 feet from you.
Maybe so.
There
so I can hear it. So I can hear it when it goes off.
Well, that doesn't make any difference. That didn't make any sense.
See, I don't think that's a point of pride. Why would you be proud?
That's not a point of pride. That's a difference. I don't have to be connected all the time.
See, but to me, it sounds like you're prideful about that.
Well, I am now at this point. It just irritates you, so it's just kind of a point that I do every day. But
Oh my goodness.
But but we weren't. We were outside. We were playing, sun up, sun down. Mm-hmm. We were hot. We were sweaty, but we had to use our imaginations. Because you're outside all day in Oklahoma. It's hot.
You didn't have all the. You have the constant access to cartoons, or
no? We had cartoons on graphics. Saturday morning.
What was it? There was a comedian that was talking about the fact his name is Louis C.K. and a lot of people know Louis C.K. But
nope, I don't know him.
I know you don't.
I don't know any of them.
I know.
I'm not a movie star.
He's not a movie
person.
star.
I know, but I don't know any of them.
Yeah, you don't follow celebrity.
I don't follow celebrity anything.
I know.
I think it's a waste of time. But
so, anyways,
they're there to entertain me. That's it.
This is true. So, anyways, Louis C.K. he had this bit on why he didn't let his kids watch TV. He said, if you take a TV away from a kid, you just while they're watching TV, you flip it off. He said they'll go crazy. They'll start yelling, acting like chimpanzees. And he said, you wonder, you think maybe that's bad for them. Every time that you turn off the TV, they start screaming at you. Maybe that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Are you having trouble there?
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with. Well, the chair is from like 1930, so that might be a problem.
That would make sense to me.
But I want the back to stay up a little bit. Nope.
I don't.
Not gonna happen. Well, it actually is a little bit better, but oh well, whatever.
Whatever. So, when you were growing up, did you guys? I mean, you were a latchkey kid. Did you?
No.
Yeah.
No.
You told me you were.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
No.
Did you not have a key?
Well, yeah, I had a key to the house, but I mean, through elementary school, you mean?
Yeah. Well, middle school and high school.
High school, yes. Middle school, yes and no. Elementary school, there was always somebody home. So, I mean, but it was either, my mom or my grandparents.
Right.
So, either my mom, my papa, or my mom. My dad I don't remember my dad always being there after school.
No, I wouldn't imagine so.
But one of them was always there. So, I didn't go to daycare and all that I remember. My mother said that I went to daycare once, and my eardrum had exploded, and my head was like literally stuck to a pillow because they didn't...
Stuck to a pillow?
Yeah, it had dried, the fluid, And that was the last time I was at daycare. So,
Wait, didn't you send me to daycare once for like a day?
I sent you to daycare one time.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was your dad was deployed, and I had a female doctor appointment that I did not want to take you to. So, big shocker there.
Weird.
So, you actually weren't there an entire day. You were there about 2 hours.
So you just dropped me off to,
I was on the military base, and they had a thing for, whenever spouse was deployed, if you needed an hour or two here or there, then you could drop your kid off, for a little bit, for however long, and go do whatever it is you need to do. So,
a small PSA, my father is a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel, and we grew up, my brothers and I grew up all over the place.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is, people, leave them with a sitter. What sitter?
Well, especially if you're going to a new place, you don't know anybody.
Yeah, you don't know anybody, so I'm just going to pick, Bobby Sue down the road.
Knock on my neighbor's door. Your neighbor could be a serial killer. You'd have no idea.
Well, and that's true. They could. So, you don't know these people.
That's very true.
And I'm not going to leave my kid with them, but, if I have to go to the doctor, and Lord knows I did take you all too many doctor's appointments that I had.
Yeah.
But not this one. Mm-hmm. So, there's a line, and that was it.
Yeah.
But, that was the way it was. You guys really didn't have babysitters.
No.
And the only time that, we really got away was whenever we would go home to my parents' house.
Yeah.
And they would watch you guys, and your dad and I could go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, no.
Yeah, no, I mean, we didn't go to daycares and things like that.
I didn't work because your dad was gone so much.
Yeah.
And that was a choice that we made, that you would at least have one parent home that was always home.
Yeah.
So since he was gone, large amount of time, it can be very disconcerting for a kiddo.
Yeah.
So to be able to wake up and mom's right there all the time, and go to bed and mom's there, it kind of helps you guys, I think, feel a little more safe.
Oh, absolutely.
Not so abandoned.
I know for myself that I'm very grateful for you and everything that you've done in my life. And you're always consistent, and
I'm always here.
You're the strongest woman I've known.
Always here, always right in your face.
Mm-hmm. The only girl that ever scares me is you.
That's okay. I'm good with it. Live in fear.
Yeah, I'm always in fear. But what I was getting on with that question before this was, did you go into a lot of other people's houses? I guess by yourself.
Oh no.
No. I mean, like your friends' houses, things like that.
Oh, at friends' houses, yeah. But I was never. My mother always knew where we were. Right. I mean, it wasn't just I'm running the neighborhood and I run into somebody's house. That
No.
Yeah, I mean, even a friend's house, we didn't do that.
Were the styles in the decor inside the house, were they similar in a lot of ways during that era?
No. To my house, no.
Well, how did they differ?
Okay, well, you know how my...
I know.
Yeah. Okay, my family traveled. They're missionaries all over the world. And we don't buy T-shirts.
No.
We buy art. We buy things like that. Not expensive art. It's local art from some local person. And that could be anywhere from a painting to a funky mask from Africa.
Lots of elephants.
Yeah. Well, my mother likes elephants.
Yeah.
But, all kinds of stuff.
Little wooden trinkets.
Yeah. I know my grandpa had these African masks that were just all kinds of scary. And they had those on the wall for forever. I hated those things.
I think that the growing up around those in Nana's house would be a reason why I'm so fascinated by it. Every time we go to auction, we find little wooden carvings and things like that.
Yeah.
Or wooden bowls and things.
Well,
I think those
that's
are so
what
neat.
you focused on. I mean, yeah. Well, and the way my family, I guess you could call it decorating, is everything goes on the wall.
Right.
Everything goes on the wall. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's all on the wall. So it's like my mother has embraced, and I say this humorously, the minimalist lifestyle, which basically means there's only 1 to 5 pictures on a wall at a time. But, like my aunt and uncle, basically, I have pictures about literally every inch,
Oh,
half
yeah.
an inch.
Yeah, well, not only do they have pictures, I mean, he's got his knighthood swords, he's got snake skins, he's got, wooden carvings that you can hang on the wall. Like, he doesn't have wall space.
No.
He does not have
and
wall
last
space.
time I was at his house, he was having me hang pictures. Mm-hmm. And I was hanging pictures probably about 18 inches off the floor. And the rest of the whole wall was pictures all the way up, but they were like right there. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, we couldn't do that.
But I would go to other people's house, and of course that's just the way I grew up. So if we went on, vacation or whatever, all of the stuff that's on our walls are memories. Mm-hmm. So every one of the things has a story.
Yeah,
it's got something behind it. There's something there. So I mean, we don't just willy-nilly stuff. There's something there.
Of course.
So I would go to other people's house, and they might have a picture on the wall. Mm-hmm. I thought, gosh, how sad. I was like, did they not trowel, or did they not do anything, or
Well.
And then my husband, he was like, well, that's what normal people do. So.
Yeah,
like,
Dad.
Okay.
Because Dad is definitely the authority on normalcy.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't. So. Just for a quick reference, he is not.
Well, the first time I brought your dad,
I
think it was Christmas, Thanksgiving, a holiday. I know it was a winter
holiday. I've never
heard
this story, by the way. This is fantastic.
Huh?
I've never heard this story.
You haven't heard this?
I've never heard the first time you took Dad to meet Nan and Papa.
I don't know no, it wasn't Nan and Papa. Actually, I think you might have been alive, and it might have been when I was pregnant with Kale, or I just had Kale. I don't know. I don't remember, but anyway, it was the first time we went up to Aunt Betty and Uncle Lonnie's house. And,
Aunt Betty and Uncle Lonnie.
Yeah, well, we all drove up to Tulsa for that. Mm-hmm. And you kind of try to prepare people for whenever you go in the house and just say, okay, you're going to be a little overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So, just be prepared. And there's a Great Dane, so be prepared for a tail. You need to do that. Well, I remember your dad walked in and was just looking around like, holy crap. It's like, okay, I've never seen, a bathroom in leopard skin.
Oh yeah, no. My favorite is the couch swings. So my great aunt and uncle, they're both concert pianists, and they're both missionaries, and they've traveled everywhere. They've gone. My uncle Lonnie, he's a knight. He was knighted by Vladimir Putin, and he's and they're both 93 and 91. I just saw Lonnie's post the other day saying he's 93 and Betty's 91. He's got a book out. They're very interesting people. There's nothing.
A couple books out. Yeah, he's led just an incredible life.
He has. He's had just and he displays that. It's like he displays every bit of that life on all of his walls and in all of their furniture. All their furniture is what I would classify as eccentric. And this includes my two favorite pieces of furniture that he has, which are these two literal hanging couches. You know how you have a porch swing that hangs? They're actual little couches that are hung from these, I guess what you would call rustic wooden beams.
Yeah, and I know he got that overseas somewhere and had it brought over. I'm trying to think if they're from India or I don't know. But yeah, those were really fun. But the favorite story is whenever we went up to get your motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
Went up there, Aaron's first little motorcycle.
It was a dirt bike, KX60.
Went up there to get it, and Aaron and Kale were little, and so they had to sleep on those sofas and stuff. Had to do it. And then somewhere in the night, I think Kale woke up, and my uncle had it's a taxidermied sun bear.
Yep. Yes, he does.
And it was right there, and
it's like an 8 foot or is it a 6? It's like a 6 foot bear.
It's a big bear.
Yeah,
big bear. And yeah, Kale woke up, screamed his head off bloody murder because this bear was right over his head. And I then had two little boys sleeping literally on top of me in a twin bed. It was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
And then they wonder why I'm cranky, and I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe because I was woken up by a boy scared of a bear, a dead bear. Catherine was talking, or my wife, my wife's name is Catherine. Catherine the other day was sitting there and talking about you, and she was like, I don't know how she did it, running around with 4 boys.
Well,
I'm surprised she's not in a mental health.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
I had a good time, and I think I really, truly enjoyed every age. I really did. And I still do. I mean, you guys are still, in my opinion, still growing up.
Yeah.
And frankly, if you're not growing up the rest of your life, then, you're kind of got a problem.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we're all growing.
Well, and I think the difference is, too, is that, our relationship has evolved to the point where we can have an actual conversation. And
well, we always could until you got stupid, and then we couldn't. But you're back around.
Yeah. It takes me some hard lessons, but
I think also what's different in all 3 of our relationships is the fact that I was home.
Yeah,
and I wasn't. I homeschooled you guys, and I was very involved. Even when you did go into school, I was still at the school all the time. I was very involved in every little thing that you guys did, as much as humanly possible. It is hard to be, a parent with a husband deployed quite a bit.
Right.
And be at 3 different places at the same time. But, I did my best.
Little backstory on that. My brothers and I were homeschooled. I was homeschooled actually from the 2nd to the 8th grade. And my middle brother was homeschooled from kindergarten till 9th grade. And my youngest brother was homeschooled from birth until around, was it 8th grade?
Something like that,
yeah. 8th grade. And the reason for that is because we moved to Newport News, Virginia.
Well, we moved around a lot, and every state has its own set of rules as far as school goes, and everybody's curriculum is different, and, all of this. So it's hard if you got to move a kid and they got a new curriculum and, you miss stuff.
Right. Well, not only that, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was we went to this place called Kiln Creek Elementary School. Yeah. And Kiln Creek Elementary School used to, she's not there anymore, used to have a kindergarten teacher who would cuss at the kids. And I remember... Well,
she wasn't all that. She was not great. But when you walk into a new school and you have a child, and your teacher says, "Oh, you're from Nebraska," you are going to have to go ahead and start you over because we know that podunk schools like that don't really teach. And I'm like, okay.
First of all, he's in kindergarten, so... I'm
like, yeah, number 1, it's kindergarten. I was like, number 2...
I got to reteach you the color green real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, number 2, podunk Nebraska? Really? It's like, wow, your world's a little narrow.
Well, what's crazy to me, and I found this as I talk to people, now, especially people here. I've talked to some people in our church, and they're like, we thought about moving to wherever. I think somebody told me that, we thought about moving towards the Midwest. I said, but we just couldn't because it's so racist out there. And I was like, well... Honest to God, it's more racist in Virginia and D.C. area than it is anywhere else we've ever lived. Absolutely. No, but the thing is I think, everybody associates what they've heard with all the, they just group everyone in an entire state with whatever they've heard. But the reality of it is if everywhere I've been, the people are all the same. You have the same archetypes. You have your different things culturally, right? But I mean, I've grown up with that for forever, and like Oklahoma, and it's like, oh, it's a bunch of racists and KKK people, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, never seen that until I came to Virginia. Yeah. And I knew that the KKK was a real thing. I mean, I know the history behind it. I can read, but I've never seen it. So when you don't see something, you're kind of like, well, it's kind of a little, it's out aloof. There, but it's like, I don't know. Yeah. Well, in Virginia, though, that's a thing. And we were driving down this road, and it was by a library, and like every 5 feet, it was a no parking sign on the road. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And they were having an actual KKK rally there at the library. And I'm like, well, look at that. I was like, I didn't realize that was that was still going on. Yeah. Until you had told me that, I didn't think that there were there were any members anymore.
Well, that's what I thought too. I mean, you know,
I thought that all ended in like the 80s.
well, yeah, but no, I guess not.
Yeah,
So,
evidently not.
But
At least not in
that's out
Virginia.
here on the East Coast where they're supposed to be all cultured and everything, and apparently that's still a deal out here.
Yeah, well,
and I'm
you
sure
know,
there may be a little sect there in Oklahoma somewhere, but you know, my family's been there since the state was before a state, and I've never met one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's not to say that it didn't exist in the state.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm sure there's something there, but I'm just saying that has never crossed my world in my entire life on the planet.
Yeah.
Until we came out here.
Yeah.
So, but no, yeah, people think that anybody from the Midwest or from the South and all that they're a bunch of dumb hicks, and you know, they're the same as anywhere. I've met more small-minded people in big cities because they don't get off their block.
Well, you know, because I think that the city kind of spoils you in a way, because it cultivates that idea of being that you're open and honest, because there's so many different people in a small area, so they have this idea or this illusion that you're so open-minded because you're in close proximity with so many different kinds of people. But just because you're close to a lot of the people of different cultures, races, you know, whatever, doesn't mean that you are open-minded. It doesn't you know,
no,
qualify
and most
you
of
as
them are
that.
pretty small-minded, and most, you know, I've noticed a lot of people, especially on the East and West Coast, because I've lived on both sides. They think that whatever they're doing is the way to do things.
Yeah, well, I think that's every person.
Well, but I meant for the rest of the country.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, if you look at gun control, both the East and the West are like, no, we don't need. Well, my sister-in-law posted a picture the other day on Facebook of about a 6-8 foot rattlesnake. You need a gun.
Yeah, no, it's very true. Yeah, that's
but a lot of people
Margie.
they don't understand that.
She said they got coyotes too. They got and the thing, you know, people get upset because they're all, well, you have to kill off this wildlife or whatever. It's like, yeah, because it's an actual threat.
Yeah, it's a threat. It's a threat to you personally.
Yeah, personally, it's a threat to you.
But it's also
a threat to your kids.
Their kids,
You know,
and also the livestock.
Yeah,
and
it's
livestock
a threat to your
thing.
livelihood. It's a threat to your personal health. It's a threat to the health of those around you.
Yeah, but explaining that to somebody who lives in D.C. is, you know, not going to happen. I mean, their world is very small. They just think, oh well, we don't need guns here on our street. Well, no, you don't. You really don't.
Right.
But you can't take away my right to have one when I'm out in a field in the middle of nowhere, where the only place you have to have a satellite phone to get help. And help's still going to be 2 hours away, maybe.
Right.
So you got to learn how to do your own problems. Figure it out yourself.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And you know what? That is another thing from the 70s that I will say that this little quarantine that we've been going through.
No, it's just this little thing that's been happening.
Well, yeah, this quarantine thing. But people are having fits and stuff because of stores closing. I mean, there's no stores open, so I mean, it would be nice if we could just do that.
Open a store? That would be nice.
That'd be great. But everything closed at 5 o'clock. 5, 6 o'clock. So, in Sundays, nothing was open on Sunday. We had blue laws. And blue laws, nothing was open. I mean, you went to church, and there were restaurants open and stuff, but most everything wasn't open until I was probably in college, and Walmart started opening their stores Sundays at like 1 o'clock in the
afternoon.
Yeah, they weren't 24/7. They were open from like 9 to 9.
Well, I mean, 7-Eleven, that was the first store to be open until 11 p.m.
Right.
That's why it was, I mean, that's what their name was for, and that's why it's such a big deal.
You know, banks closed at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh my gosh, well, how did you get stuff done? Well, because we didn't have computers. We couldn't just click onto whatever. You physically had to go to places. Mm-hmm. But amazingly, we found the time. We figured out how to work our schedules so that we could get to the places we need to get to.
I don't know, but it would make sense to me too that employers back then would be a lot more understanding in saying like, "Hey,
not necessarily.
I need to go to the bank."
Yeah, but I mean, not necessarily, but yeah, they could have been.
Yeah.
So you adjust your hours, or you went on your lunch hour, or, you found the time to get done what you needed to get done. And banks were open usually on Saturday till like noon.
Oh, yeah.
So you could go do stuff. But other countries still do that.
Yeah.
So, Scotland, when we were in Scotland, there's a grocery stores that were there, and they closed.
Yep, they did.
And I remember walking by one, and the man was like, I just need whatever it was, milk or whatever. And there's like, the rule. You know the law, and I cannot afford to be ticketed for you buying a gallon of milk.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay.
What's interesting to me, too, is that that is a law.
It's a law, yeah.
Yeah.
And even in Canada, a lot they're closed.
Yeah.
They have their hours, but it's government run, so there you go.
See, and that,
But people don't know how to manage their time. And it's like, it's amazing that we all survived everything.
Yeah.
And stuff was closed, but you figured it out. You got to where you needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you got what you needed to get.
Right.
And it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you forgot something and it was closed, you made do.
Right. Right.
You figured out another way.
It's that ingenuity and creativity we're talking about that's missing a lot from.
Well, it is, but and I think that
from
especially,
this generation,
especially city people, they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because we're making this designation of city people versus country people. There's always all the arguments. There's two types of people, blah blah blah. But I like I was saying before, regardless of what setting you're in. People are still people.
People are still people, but our neighbor across the street, the one before this one, she didn't own a screwdriver. She's from New Jersey. She didn't own a hammer or a screwdriver. I mean, come on.
In that sense,
she hired people to hang pictures.
Well, my mother-in-law hires people to paint her room.
Yeah, and where's she from?
She's from Maine.
Grew up by Boston.
Yep.
There you go.
Well, Massachusetts, sorry, not Maine.
Yeah. But that's the thing. And I think a lot of times, a lot of people, probably even you kids, Dad and I will sit there, and if there's something that needs to be done or fixed or whatever, we will attack that problem 350 ways before we will ever call a professional to come in and fix it.
Absolutely. And I think that has to, I think that's our family. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not. I mean, that's kind of the way, way it was then. Mm-hmm. So most people couldn't afford to call a plumber every time something happened, or an electrician, or, whatever, or something broke or something. You had to figure out how to fix it yourself.
Yeah. What I'm saying is I think that is cultural to a degree, because I will say, what it seems to me, at least from, Catherine's family, is that they're more, they'll wait to do things until they have money to pay somebody else to do them, rather than investing in tools or whatever to do it themselves. They'll just wait until they have and. There's an argument to be made that is a good thing because it's saving time.
I do. I think it saves time and whatnot. There again, it's also a proximity thing.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, we had the tools already because we lived far, enough away that it would cost an arm and a leg to get somebody to come out there and do it. And then whoever came out and do it, most likely you knew who they were, and they were like, seriously, you couldn't do this yourself? Mm-hmm. But, it just, that was kind of a thing. But a lot of people, they don't know how to fix anything. Yeah. And it goes back to your education, trade schools and all that kind of stuff.
And the lack of home ec, woodworking is not offered very much anymore.
No, and it's sad because I think there's a lot of creative people.
Welding, there's not a lot.
No, not a lot of that.
Not a lot of that in high schools anymore, at least.
Mm-mm. And your grandfather was a welding teacher.
He was a welding teacher for 40 plus years.
And the shop teacher, a lot of people they can't work on their car.
Yeah. We didn't talk about antiques that much, but
Aaron likes to gab about other crap.
Yeah, it's me who gabs. That's what it is.
Hey, I was up ironing.
But anyway,
with my lovely 1950s iron.
I do love that thing.
I love
is pretty
my iron,
neat.
And if I can find another one, I'm going to gather all of them up because they were good irons. You don't get good irons anymore, which doesn't seem like that big a deal. But man, it doesn't have. There's no auto shut off, and that sucker is hot.
Yep. Yeah. Hot. It's one of those, there doesn't even have to be that much moisture on it, and you can still see steam.
It's heavy too.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, I think, because of the weight of it.
Yeah, it's a couple pounds.
Well, if you guys are hearing this, thanks so much for listening to us. Mom, don't eat the microphone. Please follow us on Facebook and go and check out our Etsy store, Hip and Humble Antiques, for both of those.
Maybe next time we'll talk about antiques.
Yeah, next time we'll probably actually talk about
We did
antiques.
talk about the rotary phone.
We did talk about the rotary phone. And we talked about some of the styles inside of 70s houses. So we got a couple.
Hey, they have like funky colors. I always remember neon.
Yeah.
And orange and brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is up with that orange? Because it's not.
I don't know. It's bad ugly.
Orange.
We didn't have it.
Yeah, that's a bad orange.
We had red. We had red, pink, and white.
Yeah, you did. But anyways, we're going to sign off here. I'm Aram.
I'm Mom.
And stay hip.
And humble.
All right. Thanks.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.